What is going on, movie lovers, and welcome back to another episode of 5 on It. On today's show, we are reviewing a film that, personally, I haven't really heard of until I just did this rewatch. And maybe some of you movie lovers possibly haven't heard of it, but that's what we do here. We try to bring some recognition to the less recognized. Mm-hmm. But today's episode, we are reviewing a film called Haine. But before we dive any further into that, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, a share, a comment. But Sir Fraser, tell the people about Haine.
Man, this was a mid-90s French flick directed by, co-edited, written, and directed by Mathieu Kassovitz. It stars Vincent Cassel, Hubert Koundé, I believe is how you pronounce his name, and Saïd. Man, I'm not gonna get tongue twisted by this. But this movie really, was extremely successful. It was a bit divided in terms of how some people within French society viewed this movie. But Kassovitz won Best Director prize. I really want to give a shout out to the cinematographer Pierre Aïm, I believe is how you pronounce his name. The visuals of this movie are just beautiful. I think a lot of the way that this movie is shot, it reflects one of the main characters, Vince's alienation, when he says, "I feel like an ant lost in intergalactic space." This movie has such a beautiful way of storytelling. In this movie, I think some people have compared it to a French Do the Right Thing. It's one of those stories that's told all in the course of a day. This movie is really addressing the social climate in light of the police brutality between the banlieues, like the suburbs of Paris, mm-hmm. and the police brutality, and just like the cyclical nature of the violence. Mm-hmm. I love the way that story opens up with the man falling, mm-hmm. And he says, as he's falling, so far so good, mm-hmm. so far so good, and it's like it's not how you fall, it's how you land. And then we see that Molotov cocktail collide against the earth. Mm-hmm. Like the whole beginning is just really beautiful and effective at setting us in this time, mm-hmm. especially given like when this movie came out, there was a history of a lot of police brutality towards oftentimes immigrants.
That's what I was thinking. Was that all like some like real footage though? Like the opening scenes, because I believe
it was.
And that's what was kind of almost threw me for a bit, because I was like, is this like a documentary type of film?
No.
Then like I think the aspect ratio changed to actually like, that's why I think it's supposed to like differentiate between, I think they were showing probably some actual footage early on, and then it switches to like the characters and stuff like that.
And then that song, Burning the Luton, that's like an iconic Bob Marley song. And mm-hmm. I like the way that we're introduced to each of these characters, like the way we start and finish this movie with Saïd. We'll get to the ending because that is going to be a long conversation, I feel like, and a highlight. But the way we're introduced to Saïd, right? He opens his eyes and we get this really effective overhead shot where we see the police opposite of him. Mm-hmm. And this is in the aftermath of a lot of rioting, and a lot of clashes with the people of the community and the police. Mm-hmm. And we see him graffiti the back, and it shows his name, Saïd, and it says "fuck the police."
I was like, why do you put your name on that?
Right. But like, you notice that at every point we're introduced to the characters, we see their name highlighted. Like when Saïd goes in, he's fucking with him. He's like, "Mommy," when he sees the sister, Yeah. But like we get a close up on the ring, Vince's ring, that has his name on it. Mm. And the same thing with Hubert, right? When we're introduced to him in the burned down boxing gym. We see his name highlighted on one of the flyers. Yeah. The promo flyers.
Those are nice little details.
Yeah.
I always appreciate when they like highlight characters like that. But like you mentioned, like like a highlight of this movie to me is just kind of like the storytelling. Just kind of like how I love movies. Kind of like obviously Superbad is one that's always like comes to mind. Is a movie that just takes place or Friday that takes place in one single day, or just like in a few hours. Because I ended giving you that little countdown to like when they posts like little
the timestamps.
Exactly, the timestamps throughout the film, which is kind of nice. I mean, seeing seeing like what time of period like this is taking place throughout the day, but that's just a highlight to me. Is just exactly the storytelling, how they're introducing the characters and just seeing them how they're interacting with one another. Because I mean, even like Hubert, he comes into the picture, but then he pieces out for a little bit, but then he ends up coming on back with them. But
yeah, well, to your point though, man, I love that. I like the visuals of the timestamps followed by the ticking of a clock, because even though the movie starts off with this great image of the Molotov cocktail hitting Earth, and also like the visuals we see like the billboards throughout this movie of "The World Is Yours," that was powerful. But one of the things that did really work for me is just as things start kind of unfolding, we see how the story threads and pieces about this rumor of a police gun, and then that's reported in the news that a policeman's gun was lost during the riots the previous night. So that's kind of shown, and then when we get the reveal that it was Vince who found it, that adds a whole nother layer of like.
What, Vince found the gun?
Vince had the gun. That was the police gun.
The gun that he actually had?
The 38 or whatever that was, the Smith & Wesson. Yeah, that was the police gun that was missing.
I felt, oh wow.
That's how he got a hold of that.
I feel like, well, I kind of missed that, I guess, detail. Which also, I mean, it is an international film, and so like I'm like reading like the subtitles and stuff, which is like kind of is a hit or miss a little bit. I feel like sometimes I'm losing certain things when I'm not paying attention to
in the performance
on on screen and stuff. So that just comes with the territory. But damn, I kind of missed that because I kind of wrote down like two things that I feel like they could have just did a better job of, I suppose, was it just like the missing gun? Because I kept hearing about that. And I was like, where the fuck is this gun at? And I was thinking, like, was that the...
that was the police gun.
Was that the gun that Vince had this whole time?
Yeah, that's how he got it.
That's just a detail I guess I missed somehow. Another thing, too, I suppose, was that their friend that was in the hospital, because they did go and check on him, and then they have a moment like with like the cops or the security at the hospital and stuff like that.
When Saïd gets arrested, I feel
like that was going to become a little bit more prevalent, or because it just I don't know, like they just went to go check on him, but then you just kind of hear about him, but then you see that he ends up dying. That's when they were in the mall. I was gonna say like a mall or something like that, and then they see Vince like kind of wanders off a little bit, and then he ends up having like some sort of weird visual, I suppose, kind of a nightmare. But I don't know. I thought that was just gonna be
fantasy. Yeah, he's fantasizing killing that cop.
Yeah. But like I don't know. I just missed that detail with the gun. I was thinking like, where the fuck is this gun at? I'm hearing about this missing gun.
Yeah.
I thought this was gonna be more of a bigger thing in like the story, but
it turns out to be that.
I mean, it is like it does turn out to be, but like I just missed that detail.
Yeah, I thought that plot point was great and just kind of ramping things up, because especially when Vince starts carrying it around, because there are so many close calls, right, where he almost shoots the cop, where the cops, when they're in Paris and the cops are about to arrest them, and he outruns them. But I think even though going back to the whole Molotov cocktail, this movie feels like a bomb is about to go off and I'm seeing the time countdown.
Yeah.
And all through this movie though, one of the things that really stayed out to me is just the influence of hip hop culture in this movie, in the fashion, in the music. And I guess it's not surprising, because I think I saw an article, I think maybe a year or two ago, France was the number 2 consumer of hip hop outside of the US. So like clearly, this is like a globalized world, and this is in the 90s, right? Where we're getting this, obviously this is a French movie, but there's so many aesthetics and the music of this movie is very much U.S. American. Whether it's, dude, I mean, some of my highlights is when after Hubert splits up from the guys because he's frustrated with how Vince, just this machismo of Vince and how he's talking about, killing a cop, and his willingness to do that. He's not afraid to do this, right? He's getting tired of that, so they split up. But that shot, though, we get from the DJ as he's setting up, and then like the helicopter camera, not even a drone. There's like a helicopter camera they fastened to they're able to do that, and just like how they filmed the projects, like how just the view of this as we're hearing, this mix with KRS-One. Huge highlight. That whole scene was great for me.
Yeah, that's honestly the first highlight I wrote down for the film for me. Just seeing, obviously I'm a big hip hop fan and just like kind of DJ mixing stuff like that too. So just seeing like how he set it up, kind of also I was thinking just like if I lived in that neighborhood, like eventually I'll probably get sick and tired. Like it's that same motherfucker in 5B playing that shit again for the whole neighborhood. I didn't ask for a free concert. I got work in the morning. Bro, those are just like weird shit I always think about sometimes watching movies. But that is a highlight film. I love how well it's shot. And like you said, I just wrote drone shot, but obviously they're not using a drone because this was in '95.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So whatever they're using to get those shots, I thought that whole sequence was, because it almost, like I said, it's broke it down to like those timestamps. So whenever time period that took place, man, that was definitely a plus part of the film.
Dude, that is a great scene. Throughout this movie, there's we're getting glimpses of the tensions between the policemen and the community, whether it's on the rooftop where a lot of these young men are hanging out. Nobody's working. There's a lot of there's a lack of structure in a lot of these young men's lives.
Yeah.
And we see the cops come up there and try to force them to come down, and they have a standoff there, and that's where we introduce to the cop who's rocking that, like, the Notre Dame starter jacket. Again, kind of calling back to like the American cultural influences.
Dude, Vince had on a clean ass Nike jacket too. I ain't gonna lie.
Oh yeah,
whatever jacket he was rocking, like, because he switches up his jacket, kind of wears like a leather coat or something like that.
Towards the end.
But that Nike jacket he was wearing, I'm like.
Even that tracksuit that Saïd was rocking was good.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that this movie does a good job of is like grounding. Like each of these characters are very unique and very different, and we see the dynamic of how they kind of interact with each other. Saïd kind of feels like a little bit of the mediator, the jokester. He's
the leader.
Yeah, he definitely he seems a little empathetic at times to the anger that Vince has.
Yeah.
But he is not as impulsive as Vince is. And Hubert seems to be the most mature of the three. And he and Vince clash heads a lot. Yeah. But those two are very different. He seems more measured, a little bit more contemplative. Whereas, like I said, Vincent is a lot more emotional. And those are what's driving his actions. But seeing his story arc over the course of the movie, where he does have the chance to kill and he doesn't. Yeah. Like he turns a corner and
skinhead dude.
Yeah, with the skinhead. And the way that was shot was just really. First of all, I want to take a step back. I love that scene. It was very gritty, close up. You feel the tension in that whole scene.
Yeah, I kind of thought he was about
with
to
Huber's egging him on. Go ahead and do it. Really trying to test. He tells him in this movie, right? He said, "You don't got the bill to carry all this world's problems."
Yeah.
But what did you think of just the black and white choice to shoot this?
Well, I mean, that's always like, I think, it's a decent choice. I mean, I didn't really like think too much of it, I suppose. Just like, I just always like when I see those done in black and white, it was just kind of like, well, that's just like an aesthetic choice, I suppose. But just like it, I mean, just kind of like when you see certain scenes, like how well they shoot them. I mean, some stuff it just kind of comes across just like, oh, just kind of normal. But then there's moments like you mentioned, like with like the skinhead scene when like they're going up close with the camera, and they're doing like the over the shoulder shots with like Hubert and stuff like that. I mean, then like those moments really pop. But like, I don't know, like I wouldn't mind seeing this like in a color format, I suppose, like just to have that comparison. But speaking of like the characters though, I was really like liking Hubert too, especially like seeing how like when he broke away from the group
He
and
goes home.
And like he just like obviously you're just seeing a little character development with him, and he wants to get out of the ghetto, and like he knows that like obviously like his the gym burned down and stuff like that, and he kind of thinks that Vince had something to do with it as well. But man, I was kind of like liking him until like it's like I don't think he was like really doing anything like too bad up until this moment. I mean, maybe I'll stand corrected if like you point something out. But it seemed like he was just kind of like a decent dude for the most part. But then when he goes in and he meets up with those girls, and then that conversation
went way off the fucking rails.
Went quickly off the rails. Like you went up there like to talk to these girls, and it just I just don't know like what went wrong. But he ends up stealing old boy's like credit card, and I was just like, Hubert, man, I was riding with you, man. Why'd you have to do that, bro?
Well,
I was like, man, I was kind of digging you. Like, you seem like you're the more mature one of the group, but then you had to steal old boy's credit card. That's when like, even Vince is like, you're up to your old ways.
Well, you also know he's a small time weed dealer.
Yeah.
I think all of these characters fit well into this really just great and powerful story. I think there are moments in this movie. And I know this is deliberate, but there's moments where it feels a little too inactive.
Yeah.
But there's also moments where that's happening, and the visual payoffs are great. So, for example, when they first arrive in Paris and they're on that bridge, and we see them in the foreground and the city, and then that really impressive dolly zoom where we're getting close focus to them. Everything, the city kind of shrinks behind them, and they're up close. Beautiful shot,
dude. I ain't gonna lie, bro.
I love that scene.
I was a little high, and that kind of tripped me out for a moment.
Did it really? Oh, bro.
Because also I'm watching this on my phone too, because like I didn't want to rent it. I just watched it on a little. I went a little surf the high seas to watch this film, but
you gotta watch this on a screen, bro, a big screen.
I was thinking because I mean it will lead a little bit to my score to the final end, but like I want to rewatch this film at some point. But that part did a little trip me out. But like it is a great shot, like
man.
the visuals, like seeing them on the bridge and stuff. Also, like when they're on the I think on the rooftop, and that's when you see the Eiffel Tower, and he tries to do the snap. He's like, bro, that only happens in the movies, and then they linger on it for just a second or two,
and then it happens.
And it out. Dude, I'm gonna say like, I mean, I'll get to like a little bit of like my issue with the film because I mean it's not a perfect score or anything for me, but damn, I kind of lost my train of thought a little bit. But I'll just mention too like another highlight of the movie was the Snoopy scene. When they go and
to get Saïd's money.
Yeah, because that scene was like very reminiscent of Boogie Nights when they go and they meet old boy. That's like
this was before Boogie Nights too.
Yeah, hold on. What year was Boogie Nights?
I want to say 97 or later.
Boogie Nights is 97. Oh,
okay,
maybe Boogie Nights took a little inspiration from Haine. But have you seen Boogie Nights?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
That's when they end up going there. I forget exactly what's their they're going there to rob the dude, but I forget exactly what's like the underlying reason why they end up posting up there. But it's like these guys that end up meeting this crazy like dude that's on drugs and shit, and there's kind of like this underlying kind of tone or danger. Like you just sense that maybe something's gonna go wrong. At least since I was comparing it to Boogie Nights a little bit. And you knew Vince had that gun with him as well. And things things do go off the rails a little bit, but I thought it was just going to like really pop off. I thought at any moment that like Vince was going to shoot the dude or they were going to end up accidentally killing somebody. Dude, I thought this story, because I mean, that's a credit to a little bit of the tension. Also like with Vince having this weapon, and you seeing like how he's kind of just like losing. I mean, he's kind of a crazy dude. Even when he's getting chased by the cops, he's just screaming and shit.
You think this is a game?
Fuck your mother and all that type of stuff. It's like he's kind of a low key of a lunatic. But I mean, you just think that something is gonna go. Me personally, I'm thinking at some moment this story is just gonna go completely sideways. They're gonna end up actually like killing somebody. Something's bad is gonna really happen. Something does bad happen, but not until like the very end. But there's just like this underlying like tension, and it was really like shown in that scene when like they're seeing that dude. He's like, "Oh, you want some coke? You want some coke? You want some coke?"
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, I don't know how old these kids are, but these are some kids right now.
No, this movie is a tragedy. And it's a tragedy across a lot of levels. I mean, at a societal level, ultimately, but the failure of, these incidents where of police brutality, where people were dying in custody. We saw in this movie some of the really hard scenes to watch is when after Saïd, Vince, and Hubert leave Snoopy's place, they're arrested. And when we see what the cops are doing to Saïd and Hubert, they're torturing them, and this rookie cop is just watching all this, clearly just uncomfortable. And they're just, we're seeing like the racism as well at play in this movie and the way that they're treated. That was a really hard scene to watch.
Bro, they're not even asking about like
no,
any
they're
sort
just
of case.
they're just doing that to fuck with them.
Yeah, they're like talking about some
because they're in Paris.
Ass shit, man.
Yeah, that was a really powerful scene for me.
Man.
The scene where I think going back to Vince, I think one of the things that really stood out just in the earlier scenes when we're first meeting him is that really great shot where they have a double of Vince in the mirror. He's brushing his teeth, he spits in the sink, and then we zoom in over the other actor's head and close in on Vince, and he's doing his Travis Bickle Taxi Driver. You talking to me?
I know. I was like,
you talking to me, motherfucker? And you're just like, oh my god, he's unhinged.
I was like, well,
he's really.
Something? We just did a review on Taxi Driver too.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this. It's not far off. This dude is over the course of this movie, we see like his anger is just festering, and all of these interactions with the cops are really driving him towards a really destructive, is driving him down a very destructive path. And seeing him kind of relent, there's that moment, right, where he's kind of caught off guard when they try to get into the club. He's driving around with the friends. This is when Saïd and Hubert are arrested, and a dude walks up to the bar, like the club door, and fires the flare gun in there.
Dude,
that scene was wild. But like,
whoa.
But dude, how dope was that shot? Right, where we're seeing the screen is split. We're seeing this man fire the flare gun at the bouncer, and then we're also seeing Hubert's reaction, and he's just like. He flinches from that.
Yeah.
And so I think like we're starting to see like, even though he puts on this before and he's told his friends that he's going to kill a cop if their friend dies. And it comes to the fantasy, right? Where after he finds out he's dead, he's fantasizing about killing these cops. But ultimately, when he does have that opportunity, he doesn't do it. No. And nobody's more worthy of a bullet than a skinhead.
Dude, that's why like when they have that moment and
that standoff,
even
man.
It's like that's telling them
that standoff,
like,
but yeah.
Not every cop deserves to die.
Yeah.
But every skinhead does. So it's like, dude, did you think he was going to pull the trigger? I mean, have you seen this before?
I have seen this before once.
When you remember like when the first time you watched it?
I didn't know what. I was like, oh, man. Because he was also Jewish as well, so like there's also that component to the hate that this neo-Nazi represents.
Dude, because I think of like if Vince wasn't there, what they would have done to? Oh
yeah, they would have been in a hospital, if not worse.
Exactly. So it's like, man, at that moment you're thinking like, Vince, well, if you want to put one in down, like we probably won't blink an eye for you, man.
Yeah,
we'll look the other way for you.
I think. That moment is when there's a change happens in Vince when he gets to that point, right? They take the train home early in the morning, and he gives Hubert the gun, and oh man, everything that falls out from here was just heartbreaking, bro. When that fucking Notre Dame cop. We have we're trying. First of all, the whole shot, right? You're just like, all right, what's gonna happen here? Because we're watching Saïd and Vince walk away from Hubert, Dude. And then that car pulls up as I thought
a car was gonna hit him. Like when they were like walking to the end, I was like, oh, like I know this shot. Something's gonna happen.
Yes.
And I thought like a bus or something was gonna fucking hit him like that. But then when the cops pull up, I'm like, oh, here we fucking go.
And it's that one cop. And we saw on the rooftop if people will remember, when they have the interaction on the rooftop when the cops are trying to clear all of these guys off of the roof. Vince has some words with the cop who's wearing the Notre Dame, and the camera holds on him for a few seconds. And man, when he pulls out the gun on Vincent and he's got it up against his head, he's laughing, and then you see the gun go off. Oh man, bro, I'll never. That was one of those moments. It was like it was up there with when Ricky got gunned down in Poison the Hood.
Really?
Because it's just like, oh man, what the fuck? When he shoots him in the head, and then Hubert draws his gun on him, and they're in this Mexican standoff. Yeah. And then we get that zoom in on Saïd, and we hear the narrator, right? He's talking about what happens to the society that's falling. You know, so far so good, so far so good. And then he closes his eyes, and boom, we hear the gunshots, man. That was a fucking stuck the landing, amazing landing for me. I love the ending of this movie. It
was a very good ending. It's a shocking, pretty sad ending.
Oh yeah.
I definitely wasn't expecting. Once like Vince hands over the gun to Hubert, you're kind of thinking like, not necessarily like he overcame like any sort of like darkness.
But you saw growth in his character.
But yeah, he was like actually getting past maybe like all that anger and hate. Haine, that he's probably that has been expressing throughout this movie and throughout like this day, and
it wasn't enough
to see like that. Oh man, well, just to compare it to Ricky, I would say this one was just more shocking just because it happened so fast. Ricky was just, I don't know, like when you see him pull up, you're like, I guess you have a little bit more time to live with it.
Yeah,
so I don't know, like I don't know what's.
Well, I mean, in terms of just like sad.
Yeah.
Like it was just like, oh no, man.
Yeah, well,
because I can't help but wonder now, like, did Hubert end up dying as well? And Hubert wasn't he was always urging caution.
Yeah.
And he was the one who delivers that line when they're getting drove to the police station by the policeman. And he says, well, who's going to protect us from you?
Yeah.
And that's another highlight, bro. When they're actually, the camera work when they're in the police station waiting for the officer to bring Saïd out. Well, we are getting the looks on Vincent Hubert's face, and then we get the whole like 360 of the police station and all these police just leering at them.
Yeah,
that's another highlight, man. The storytelling on this movie I cannot praise enough, man. It is such a well shot movie. It feels at times like almost, I feel like at times it feels like a music video, like the breakdancing scene.
That was going to mention
amazing highlight with like more bounce. Like
I love how they shoot. Yeah, exactly. Having Zapp and Rogers more bounce to the outside playing over it. And just like how they shoot it, just kind of like it's just like
a low
angle, low angle, almost like a spotlight, just like on the dancers and everything. Anytime you're adding b-boy type of like sequences in a movie, I'm always a fan of that. So that was definitely a highlight for me as well, man.
Yeah. I guess what did you have any other thoughts on just like the ending?
I think honestly, we kind of covered everything that I wanted to talk about, man. I'm just going over my notes real quick. No, actually, I'm ready to pivot to scores if you want.
Yeah, man, I'll kick us off, man. This is a 4 for me. Mm-hmm. I really do love this movie. I think it's a movie I highly recommend people watch. I think it has a lot of staying power because of the topics it's addressing are unfortunately still prevalent in our societies. And so it has that staying power. The black and white really works for me. I think it lends to the grittiness of just the story itself. I'm a sucker for movies with these kinds of endings, ambiguous endings. I think for me, rewatching this movie, even though I think about the first time, like for me, like these are kind of the movie experience. These are kind of the type of experiences that makes me fall in love with movies. Mm-hmm. I think the script works really well. The cinematography works. The music of the movie works. The execution of all these actors. I feel like I am a part of their lives. And I think my only real knock about this movie is at times it feels... I think some of these scenes, they do feel a little redundant. and that there doesn't feel like there's enough action or enough action that's moving the story forward. Again, I know that's deliberate, and maybe this is just more of an aesthetic thing for me, but I think when we're dealing with such a small sample size of these characters' lives, I understand that sometimes showing those really just mundane moments can be effective. I felt like they were effective during the train rides, some of the train rides. But then there are other parts where it didn't really work for me. I just was wondering, okay, why are we here? But that aside, those moments don't offset, I think, the scale of this movie and what it's trying to address. And I love just like the whole "so far so good," that tagline. I think it really beautifully kind of encapsulates the story. Yeah, that's all I got, man. What you got?
Man, I am giving this a 3.5. I think I would just have to live with this movie a little bit longer. Definitely do a rewatch with it at some point. I think it's just because, I mean, obviously they're talking about police brutality, and they're and some of like the way they're telling that story, and like just telling it through like the lens of these three friends just throughout the day. It just falls a little short, I suppose, like comparing it to like some other films that I like. If you're talking about police brutality, there's other like films, even like a Fruitvale Station, that I feel like I would rank it a little bit higher. Or talk about like a film that just takes place in the day. It just falls a little. I just haven't lived with it, I suppose, a little bit longer. And obviously, being like an international film with I don't mind the subtitles at all, but like I mentioned, like I kind of just missed that Vince's gun was the actual police's gun. I thought that was just some random gun that he just found, and like obviously like finding that out now was just kind of like opened my eyes a little bit more. So definitely need to rewatch it a little bit. But the characters of the three friends, I thought were well done, well acted. The storytelling, I love just how it takes place throughout the day. But like when you're getting to some of like these timestamps, like you said, some of those sequences like are really well done, and some of them just kind of, I suppose, just get lost in the shuffle. But you're still like I mentioned, there was a bunch of them, whether it's like the DJ scene or the B-boy scene, or even the cops chasing the boys, and then Hubert ends up just clocking that cop. Meeting Snoopy. There's a bunch of highlight scenes throughout it. There's going to be a couple parts where you're kind of like thinking like, I suppose, I mean, yeah, they mention this is supposed to be about like some like a directionless group of like individuals.
I mean, you definitely feel that for sure.
And like that's kind of how they're telling the story a little bit, but like sometimes that can get a little bit lost, I feel like, in translation. But overall, I feel like it's a solid movie, and it's definitely worthy of a rewatch in my opinion. Like I mentioned, so I can just catch some things that I've missed on the first go around.
Well, to be fair, man, like there are a few movies that I think, unless you're doing rewatches, I guess. There are a few movies, like especially first watch, where you got to see it on a proper screen.
Yeah.
Especially for a foreign flick where you got to read as well. We got to read the subtitles.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I think you definitely run the risk of just not really. You're not consuming it the way that was envisioned. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You're bound to miss things. Because I miss things on the big screen. Let alone on my damn iPhone.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And honestly, just like with like storytelling, like I mentioned with like the gun and stuff, I feel like that's just part of like the something I just missed because of like the subtitles maybe, or just I don't know how I just missed that. I just thought that was just some random gun that he found. Like when they said that, like maybe I don't know, maybe my mind just kind of drifted off in like another part of the story, and I just didn't catch up, because especially like early on, like when they're showing like them like going around the dinner table, and they're like there's so many people like on screen at once.
Oh wait, Vince's?
Yeah, like that shit can get just overwhelming, because like you're just seeing so much shit happen. I'm like, I don't know who's talking right now. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Like I said, that's just kind of the price you pay with like an international film, which I don't want to stray away from, but it just kind of comes with the territory.
No, I definitely hear you on that. Well, that wraps up our episode for this week. Anything on your radar? I got something.
Man, I'm not sure if I mentioned this on on a previous podcast, but I think I definitely mentioned it on a text with like you and Jazzy, that I saw Hoppers recently.
Oh yeah,
that movie was fantastic. Dude, it's gonna be close. I might have 2 animated films on my best of the list towards the end of the year.
2 anime films.
I mean, because Zootopia 2 and Hoppers were both fantastic.
Well, shit, bro. Isn't the Spider-Verse movie coming out, the 3rd one this year?
Oh, yeah. Like, well, you got Doom 3, Doomsday, Spider-Man. We got, also, that Project Hail Mary movie's been, talked about a lot.
That's on my radar for sure.
I'll see that. I'm not sure if I'll see it in theaters, but I'll watch it at some point. I've actually listened to the audiobook for a little bit.
I heard the book was good. The Martian author wrote that.
It is pretty good. But there is some part, I think it's just because of I'm not sure if they do this with all audiobooks, but it just feels like it's just kind of one character doing all the voices. So that could be a little bit jarring. But like I said, I'm not sure if that's just this one book or if that's kind of just how all audiobooks are done. I'm not really sure, but overall, it's still it's still a fun listen.
Man, I'm trying to think what. For me, right now it's Invincible. Season 4 dropped. Love the show. Got to get my Viltrumite outfit ready for Halloween next year.
Well, they did the first 3 episodes, but I can't really say much because you're only on episode 1, man.
This is true. I was watching the movies for the podcast, man. I had to prioritize.
Let me know though once you get to, if you feel though that episode 3 is just a slight or maybe that's just me.
All right.
You give me your opinion of it, how you go from the first to the second to the third.
Okay, for sure. All right. Well, that is our episode, and we'll catch y'all next week.
Peace.